Hey everybody, this is Dimensions of the Supernatural. I'm Maureen Grudzinski. This is my co-host Anthony Simonelli, or
Mr. Forget About It. How you doing tonight?
how is everybody doing? So tonight we have a really special episode. We don't just have one guest, we have two. We almost had three because Anthony decided that he was going to multiply like Mogwai. Hi Ron. So tonight we have the beautiful, talented. Oh, hi Lily. Thanks for stopping in. Nice to see you. We have the beautiful, talented Melinda Williams. She is amazing. And she also has her fantastic student, Nick Socrates. So we're going to bring them in, and we're also going to stop the music so you can hear us better. Please comment, ask questions. That's what they're here for. And here we go. Hi, guys.
What's up,
Hey
guys?
there, Maureen and Anthony.
Hey.
It's nice to see you again. Hi, Denise. Hi, Bobby. So you all have your own show on YouTube,
Yes.
and it is called, what was it again?
Psychic Files.
Psychic Files. So tell us about that.
Cool.
So Psychic Files came about. I teach classes, and I teach psychic detective classes. And so Nick is one of my students. And so what we do is I teach them, to work with law enforcement on missing and murdered cases. And so we started doing Psychic Files to bring to the forefront missing people. So every Friday night we go live and we work a case and to try to help bring closure to the families in some way.
That's amazing. I always said that
That's pretty
I
cool.
would love to use my abilities for that exact reason, except for I would really love to focus on children.
Right. Children are my heart too.
Yeah. So how many cases have you guys solved?
Well, we just started the training. We've been in there for about 2 months now. But myself, I have done this for most of my life. So, what I have learned by working with law enforcement, we as psychic detectives do not solve. What we do is we give bits and pieces or little gold nuggets to the detectives that will hopefully lead them into a direction that will help close a case.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
there was. I remember on seeing one time that on when they have like these cold cases and stuff like that. Sometimes they get like people that like doing detective work and stuff like that, or psychics and stuff, and they get together and they do research, and sometimes they can close those cold cases.
Mhm.
So, are you one of those people, or you just do it on your own, or?
Well, I do work for law enforcement, different agencies, and that's what I'm getting my students in my class up to, so they can start working, with law enforcement. But basically, what we do is we have what they give us, either law enforcement or family. Sometimes family comes to us.
Yeah.
We ask for a picture, the name of the missing person, and if they know the last known place. And then we start working from that because I try to keep it as closed as I can, because the more information you get, the harder it is to work on the case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I worked with a psychic that done that. He did Florida. He did different states and stuff. And
Mhm.
of course, you guys start from the where the last time you see the person, and just work to, you know, what
Right.
happened and the evidence and stuff. If I know they found a couple of people, or because he's like barnyard, and it was like a barrel by water and stuff like that.
Right. Right.
And they had a suspect, and he had a barn with water running back there, and a couple of barrels back there, and of course they found it and they solved it. But
Yep.
like I said, you just give them something to go by.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
That's
And
pretty much.
that's what I instill in my students.
Mhm.
That little bitty piece that you think is nothing could be what opens the case wide up.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, that's wild, and it's I know it could be stressful and stuff like that for you, and just getting those images of what happened and everything. So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So how do you ground after something like that?
What I do, before I go into working on any kind of case, there's a lot that I do beforehand. But whenever I get done, then I actually go in the reverse of what I did when I first start.
Okay.
So yeah, I do. I use a lot of Native American techniques because I'm Native American. So there's just a lot of different things. I use Palo Santos. I use crystals. I use just gosh, all kinds of different modalities that I use to protect myself, and I even do it for the class if we're working on it together.
That's just awesome that the class is participating and being part of it all. So
Mhm.
that's training. You know,
Exactly.
I mean, you can read everything in the book, but it's not hands-on. It's not, you can learn more with hands-on and with stuff like that.
Exactly.
The person I dealt with, this guy, his name was Anthony also. And before he went on to these things, he would fast and he had his routines before so he could be open more to the spirit and to open himself up to whatever he has to go and see whatever. Do you have any techniques besides that too? Like, do you fast? Do you do anything to open your mind, or you just do the crystals and all that?
Right. I there is a certain ceremony that I call it that I do because of my tribe, and basically I use corn pollen and I anoint myself with it in my hair, and then I face all the four sacred directions, and there's certain native words that I say as I turn the different directions. And I've got my crystals on me. I use Palo San. I'm burning different kinds of herbs as I'm doing this. And that's the way I open. Now, Nick, what do you do before you start working on a case?
Typically, and by the way, I want to say, Maureen and Anthony, thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here. And
thank you for being here, being part of this.
Thanks for being here. This is amazing.
It's incredible. And also, thank you, Melinda. Like I said, as your student and under your mentorship, it's incredible. So, with that in mind,
listen, you've already got the A+, so you don't have to rub it in a little bit. You already passed the class.
I had to throw that in there, just to set the groundwork.
Just in case, I understand. To keep that A going.
So the what I typically do as an intuitive medium or any practice, and I even recommend it to my friends with the crazy days and when you feel all haphazard or when your bathroom is having issues. What I do is I ground. I physically imagine myself just sitting down, and I'll even sometimes go outside, touch the dirt, touch a tree, and just ground my center. I then sit down, take a couple of breaths, and I center my thoughts, try to neutralize it, and then I neutralize anything, and I try to send out energy for the highest and best for that. Then I put on I know Melinda does indigenous practices to protect herself. I do the typical bubble practice, white light practice, whatever works for you going into this work, because this work is heavy work. It's not for the light of heart. Right. That's what I'm learning. So that's my typical pre steps before I go into stuff like this.
Yeah, it's satisfying after the case is complete, but it's also upsetting, I guess, because what you're working for and the end results and how things happened in the long run, but what happened to that person, pretty much. So it's satisfying that you're getting to that point that the family's getting closure, but then I understand that stressful on you and especially your body. I can imagine on the body itself, aches and pains and everything else, and draining and everything else. Yeah, I can imagine how that is too.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of what we do is foreclosure for those who have lost people, and I think that a lot of what we do is taxing on our body, our mind, our spirit, our everything, and it does cause us to be drained mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, for even sometimes for a few days.
Right.
When you say Nick,
I'm old. When I go on investigation, I do the weekend. I'm drained for that week.
Right. Exactly.
I'm drained for that week. Because I'm a psychic. I'm not a psychic. I'm a sensitive, but I also a paranormal investigator. We go to places, and we never sleep. We go in and we're there as long as we can stay. And I understand the draining of it. Because during investigation, I get drained. Everybody, I have a way of handling things or, doing their own stuff. But, the draining of it, then you just have to learn how to ground yourself or, things like that. And drinking water is a big thing on investigations. People don't realize it. As soon as you get drained, just have that water. And it could help you because it's like a conductor and it brings you back a little bit there too, So, that's... So, where you guys from? What? I know I'm from New York. I know it's mentioned already.
You never know it, Anthony.
New York City. Yeah, that's him. So where you guys from?
I'm currently in Tennessee.
You're in Tennessee. Oh, I got family there. Don't ask me where because I know they're in Tennessee somewhere. You both from there?
No, Anthony. I'm in New York. If you haven't figured that out with my accent.
You're from New York.
I'm out east. About an hour from New York City.
Where? The island?
Yeah.
Where in the island?
From Long Island.
Yeah, from Long Island. You're a Long Island guy.
Yeah.
Queens guys call you guys things, but we're not going to say it on the air.
Melinda, we're overpowered now.
Oh, gosh.
We're from Winnie Island. Anywhere near me? I'm in Queens. I'm in Fish Meadows.
Yeah, I'm east. Like so almost in the middle.
Oh, you're out further. Suffolk.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Suffolk County.
He's not giving his location. He must be under witness protection or something. Okay.
Yeah, I have to protect him.
Yeah, we got to protect him. I know. So it's awesome that you guys are doing things like this. It's not everybody could actually deal with a lot of that stuff. So, any cases you working on? I know you can't share a lot of stuff, but anything that,
We work on a different case every week. Unfortunately, the one we was working for tomorrow night, some things have come up and we won't be doing that show tomorrow. We will be on live. We're just going to be on talking. But because the case I was informed by the detective, we could not bring it to air tomorrow night, hopefully in the future. But yeah, we've been working really children, any kind of case, murdered cases, missing persons. We just do a little bit of everything.
That's you get everything. Do you do any investigation or just, psychic, and do you go on paranormal investigations also as something else?
I haven't in a long time. Have you, Nick?
I'm actually currently involved, yes, in paranormal investigations and everything in between. Sometimes the really heavy stuff, or what I would call the low vibrational stuff. That seems to be my calling. Now, that's definitely not for everybody. Because some of that stuff would scare literally the hell out of you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you do private residence?
Yeah, clearing our residence, whether it be on site or even remotely international. I've done that work, with clearing of homes, apartments, remotely, attachments, people that are having issues with pesky little spirits.
Oh, yeah. I mean, been there, done that. I've been investigating over 40 somewhat years, so.
That's incredible.
I've been done. I did it before it was popular. So, yeah, I understand those little pesky guys.
Yeah.
And then you have to get somebody in. And it's like you try to cross them over, whatever you try to do to get them out of location, cross them over, or just throw them out of the house.
Right.
And you always have that. So I get somebody else to do that. So I might be calling you up, Nick.
I specialize in rescue spirit medium shifts. So
rescue spirits?
Yes.
I prefer that than crossing them over.
Cross, yeah. I mean, some
If you can
spurts.
cross them over, fine, but not everyone wants to go.
No, spurts. Like I said, I'm not there to force them.
Mhm.
And if they have a specific need or reason, I'm not gonna. Like I said, that's not my job.
Yeah, I came across many.
We have some
Yeah.
questions from our audience. Pam has questions for Nick. Nick, do you currently have practice in psychic mediumship? Number one. And also, can you tell us what you want to do with your abilities as you finish Melinda's classes?
I do have a practice, and I didn't even mention I do have a specialty in instrumental trance communication.
Can you explain what that is?
That is working with sort of like EVPs.
Okay.
Over all types of different mediums, type of, whether it be working with recorders, the EVPs, picking up spirits, picking up spirits on digital recordings, tapes, anything. Like I said, spirit, I guess, has a liking to communicate with me through EVPs. So I actually maintain a dialogue somehow with them. It's incredible, and I've been doing that for years.
You do EVPs, or you do the spirit box, or the ITC stuff?
Yeah, I make my own equipment. I have an electrical engineering background.
Okay.
So I make my own boxes. I've experimented with other individuals that have their equipment out there for that. So yes, I do have a practice with, but it incorporates different modalities. What I plan to do is include, like I said, this incredible training and mentorship that we're going with Melinda. For me, like I said, I do it for providing people with closure, everything with the intuitive mediumship, the rescue mediumship that I do, and now the psychic detective work, helping those that don't have a voice and provide closure for the families.
Yeah, that's the best thing is closures. It's when you come to a location and a private home and you give them something, just a little sting, just to let them know there's somebody there, that their loved ones are still there. And they're like, that they feel so happy because they didn't know it was there and they were scared of it. And now it's like, oh, it's my grandmother or my great aunt. And say, hey, leave them. We want them, because, they just want something to verify that they're not crazy, and they're hearing things, and now you're hearing, and you got it on recordings and everything, or tape or videos, so that closure really helps a lot.
Lori says, hi, Melinda and Nick. And Ufi wants to know, how do you measure success? Which I think is a great question for us, because we kind of don't have the same type of success as doctors or attorneys or, the same type of people out there. So in the paranormal world, how do you think that we would measure success?
Well, to me, the way I measure mine is if I help in any way to get a case closed and bring closure. So that is my reward.
That's a great answer.
So
I would say, and because I come from I currently work with the federal government, and I have an investigative background, and it all hovers around evidence. So I believe in getting evidential mediumship, whoever I'm working with, and that would be irrefutable. So it's not some story I'm making up. It's actually something that transpired that only that individual, or maybe that case, like with Melinda, like she's working on a case, it would be information that only that family would know, or possibly that police department or law enforcement would know. So for me, that's how I tied into how do I know, or my level of success is that I start getting evidential mediumship that there's no way I would know. And I go in blind, like so with Melinda's, I'd rather just know a name and maybe possible last location. That's it. I don't need anything else.
Yeah.
And that's how I do my work.
That's awesome. Did they ever give you, like, I've seen this also, they just put pictures down of people that they think are suspects, and they just put them like 10 pictures in front of you, and they just don't even show the picture, they put them upside down, and you just choose. And they've done that also. Is that one of the methods they used?
I have dealt with that, yes. I've had it where they've turned them down. I've had them where they had them faced up. I've even done a lineup. So, yeah, and that's what I was explaining to the class, is that once they get into this is some of the things that they're going to do. So we've been practicing dead or alive, vehicles, because this is all the stuff that the detectives want to know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. I know detectives like to ask a lot of questions
oh yeah.
just to catch you in something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
They will test you to see if you get what, like with me, and I was telling the class that they have gave me an image of a person and wanted to know if they were dead or alive, and it was another detective that I hadn't met. So if I got that wrong, then they'll be all right. I don't know about this. So yeah, they do test you.
Yeah, that's something.
They asked a lot about, like, is it near water? Is it, was there a car involved? Did you know, do you know what the person looked like that they were with last? Just to see if you're accurate enough to know those things.
Right. Exactly, Maureen.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the SLS?
I like it. I think it's an awesome tool. It's another tool in the bag, along with the EVP capturing and other equipment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the SLS, I love the SLS. I got so much great evidence on it. The only thing I don't like about it, the battery don't last long, and it dies very quickly. So,
Now, is that attributed to possible spirit?
In some
influence?
cases, yeah, but most cases, no. The tablets they're on, and usually not long life. So, I have another guy on my team, Giuseppe, and we both have one. So what we do is, when my tablet dies, I put his tablet on and charge mine. Then when his dies, I put mine back on. So we go back and forth with those tablets. But they're great when when they last and stuff like that. So I do like the SLS. When I first seen it, that showed me when I was growing up and everything, and seeing all these spirits and stuff like that. I was at a location, and my friend Robert was there, and that's when the SLS first started coming out. And I was seeing things in the corner, and I'm like, there's something over there. He'll swing his SLS into the corner, and there's a stick figure in that corner. And we debunk it right away, make sure there's no reflective anything, or if it's reading anything, or we're big like that with all that. Then I experienced with a little girl also, and we had the Boo Bears, the Boo Bear, and we had that there, and we told the girl to go over to the Boo Bear, and the Boo Bear went off. Then I said, "Oh, come here, sweetheart. You can touch my hand. I mean, it's probably been a long time since you." And my hand got cold. I said, my hand's getting cold. He swung that SLS. The stick figure was touching my hand at the same time. So right after that, I had to have the SLS. I bought it right away. It's like, because I verified stuff you've seen through the years, and you couldn't prove it,
And that's what I would call eventual, like, as you mentioned, Anthony, eventual mediumship. And that's what's amazing when you start working with that SLS, and then all of a sudden you ask the spirit, can you raise your right hand? And all of a sudden that little stick figure is raising its right hand, or waving at you, or grabbing something. That's when you're like, okay, there's something to this. And that's my evidential mediumship.
Yeah. We had one where my friend Ron Jacobetti, I know you do ITC stuff. He's big with that. And we're doing it, and it was reading him, and there's a shorter one next to him. So we're like, put your hand out. Giuseppe was doing it, and Ron brought his hand around, and the thing ducked. We got that on film. The thing ducked like he was going to hit him in the head. So that was like, wow. That was like one of those albums. One of our good pieces of evidence that we have also.
With that team, you never know. Lily said Melinda is phenomenal with the details she gets. License tags, birthdays for her dad, and other stuff. That's totally amazing. So that's a great validator for you. Morningstar says, back in the day, a person who knew the details of a crime also became the suspect, which is totally true. Imagine telling Barney the cop that you have psychic powers and know everything about the crime. That's true, because we would have probably been burned at the stake, or hung or whatever, because we would have been the criminal at that point. But the more we know, we look like the suspect because we're trying
Can I
to.
answer a question that's up there about Pam? She said that I should use a portable battery pack for my SLS.
Mhm.
My SLS has one connection going into it on the tablet, and that's the connection to the actual the actual, what do you call it, the camera. So that's only one connection, and it goes in there because the tablet, it's not a computer, so you don't have the USB ports. You have those small ones, and there's like usually one in there. So to carry a battery, I've tried it. I tried everything to keep that thing going, Pam. So you name it, I did it.
I don't know what Jill is meaning by Tony David Paul. Does that mean anything to you guys?
No, maybe she's psychically trying to test us.
Maybe. Jill, let us know what that means. Let's see. Pam asked, Nick, do you build the XLS?
The SLS, I do not. I've looked at it. It's just like with all of us, my involvement in so many different modalities, I just don't have the time. So I leave that to people. I have bits and pieces, and I can do it. But it's like I said, getting the equipment. A lot of this stuff is no longer in circulation, so getting a hold of it is sometimes impossible.
Yeah, especially the cameras for the Connect. I got a couple of them. And I was going to build my own. I'm going to build. I was like, I bought one. I was like, that was it. I have those cameras and everything too.
Yeah.
Those connections and everything. So, yeah, it looks easy until you actually want to put it together. I'm like, I'm lazy these days. I'm just, just hanging in there, So
I want to actually mention with Melinda, if you don't mind, Melinda, if I back to Anthony's original, we're looking at pictures, dead or alive. As a practicing intuitive medium, and like a lot of us, originally I had a really hard time with telling who's dead and alive. They all were alive because even the deceased ones were talking to me. So it was completely throwing me off. So with Melinda's teaching, you're able to. I was able to distinguish because I do know for people that had mediumship capabilities, it's very difficult to tell because everybody's alive. Right. But it's the actually deceased ones that talk and they don't shut up.
Right.
They want to talk.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
Yeah.
They're there for a reason and they have a purpose.
We get like multiple sometimes if there's more than one casualty, more than one person missing, or if it's multiple people in that one location from different times, would you hear everybody or just the person you're looking for? Is there other bodies buried within those locations that, like a serial killer or something like that? Would you get more than one?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I would have because I have worked on a serial killer before, and there was like multitudes of them. At one point, I had like 10 different ones trying to talk, and then I just have to step back and say, okay, we're gonna have to do this one at a time, and they do listen. And then, but I worked on that case one day for 10 hours because there was so many spirits coming forth on the case.
On that location, that's crazy. That really is, and it's sad too.
Very.
You got more than one person. You look for one person, you're coming up with multiple.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's probably draining too.
Oh gosh, it's really bad. Yes.
Yeah. So, Melinda, how many people do you have in your classes?
There is between 10 to 12. Some, it's according, because all of them doesn't attend class because some work and they can't. So I record it and then I send it to them and they watch it at a later time. But between 10 and 12 students.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And how long are the classes? Are they months? Are they weeks? Or
the psychic detective class runs for 6 months and we meet once a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it's very in-depth. Very in-depth.
I think if I had you as an instructor, I would have liked school a hell of a lot more than I did. But then again, I find this a lot more interesting than what I learned in school, and I didn't have a mentor. So Nick, you're super, super lucky to have
I am. Like you said, Maureen, I wish they taught this in school. I probably would have been a 10 times better student if they taught this stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right.
It's hard to find somebody to mentor you, and that you can trust them, and it's not just bunk. It's I kind of had to learn on my own, which was really difficult. And when you're the black sheep in the family your whole entire life, and then even beyond, it's really hard. I told Melinda that when I first actually kind of like met her, that this was the case, and she kind of agreed with me. It's not easy to get through life when you're already not normal, and then there's this on top of it. You kind of look like the normal girl, and you're not the normal girl. Oofy says, do the deceased have the same senses that they had when alive, or do they have less or more? And if nor, what?
Well, with me, they, how do I say this? It's according. What I've experienced is, it's according to how they passed. If I'm just doing a normal reading and connecting someone for a loved one, they can show me memories. They can show me the things that, that will validate to the family. But if someone's been murdered, or, they die from a car accident, unexpected, then that's when they're more angered. They're more, you have to go through, like Nick with the rescue mediumship, because I do that too. But, yeah, it really varies according, anyway, in my experience, according to how they have passed. So I don't know, Nick, if yours is different than that, but that's the way it is for me.
It's very similar. Like I said, some of them, like I said, if it definitely surrounds a tragedy or something tragic, they retain a lot of that. Like I said, and this is only what I experienced. I'm not the know-all or anything like this, but it's what I've experienced interfacing with spirits. And then some of them have, because if they evolved where they are, they have somewhat of a higher knowledge. They've been exposed to not only what they experienced in this life, but in the afterlife now. So they have somewhat of a different insight. I wouldn't say higher or lower, it's just different insight.
Right. And another thing I would say, like with my students, and I tell them at the beginning, not everybody's going to become a psychic detective. That's why it's a 6 months. There will be my top students. And then there will be those ones that I feel will need more practice or more insight. And then there'll be those ones that will not. I'll just flat tell them, no, this line of work is not for you. And then the ones that I'm going to take, and that's really excelling, we're going to go, and I'm going to do something special where we're going to go to a site, and actually not investigate it as far as, like in the paranormal, but we're going to go there and pick up the energy, because it's going to be a crime scene. So
I think people in general, even if they don't have the abilities that we have, some of them aren't cut out for doing something like that to begin with, and then you have a really heightened sense of the icks, that's the only way I could say it, that, because we do have heightened senses, that may make it even worse for them. I mean, some of us we know how to, and I think that this is, and I can't say this for everybody, but a lot of us have either had, very traumatic experiences in our lives, or traumatic childhood, or, whatever the case may be. We've learned how to compartmentalize. I have to say that very slowly. Compartmentalize certain things. Nick, we almost lost you there for a minute, buddy. So we know how to, stop the feeling of, either being sick for what we're seeing, or, not be really upset about what we see here. Oh, shoot. I don't think it's what I'm telling that you guys. He's better than that there. Don't you think? Is that the way I'm wording that? Is that right? Like you know enough how to put barriers and walls up so that it doesn't mess with your head.
Right. Yes, I know exactly what
Here,
you're
mister.
He is.
I apologize. It's my New York Long Island connection here. It's terrible.
Anthony does this all the time to me.
No, I don't.
Yes, you
You
do.
do it to me.
But Nick, would you say the same thing? Like, you know how to kind of put up walls so you don't get messed with here when you're doing something like this?
It's very important. I was saying that because not only, like I said, setting the groundwork prior to, but during and after. And like Melinda says, some people don't know how to deal, because spirits can be pushy. You might get 10 of them, while trying to investigate one, and all of a sudden you got 10 that are sitting there crowded around you, and you just got to say, hey, listen, no, you go over here, you go over here. I'm only working with one person, so it's very important, and it's not made out for everybody. Everybody can't do that.
Yeah.
Somehow I've been able to do it, and I tell them, I say, listen, I got a special room for you. Just go over there and wait. Take a number.
Yeah, but
Right.
even like the emotion of it, you know how to like stop from being emotional about it, or getting sick from what you're seeing, or whatever the case may be.
Absolutely, because it does affect it. Sometimes it takes me about a day. It used to be 2 days to recover because of the amount of draining, just mentally, spiritually, physically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
I get drained what I do, and you guys use your body for everything.
I was working a case where I took on what happened to the victim,
Mm,
and it really, really made me sick. And I had to step away from the case, and I was still sick for like 6 months afterwards.
really?
Yeah.
Actually, like with Melinda, when we work in the case, or when I was fairly new, I was feeling this, like as if I was getting a stab in my stomach.
Mhm.
And I later found out that I think the individual had recently undergone some type of stomach surgery or
Right.
within that area. So you pick up stuff like that. It's incredible.
Do you ever pick up what the crime itself with, if they got attacked, and do you feel that on your body where they got injured also?
Yes.
So that's what happened to you with the 6 months?
Yes. I took on exactly what had happened to the victim, and it made me really sick. So I was very anxious. I could not focus. I mean, and I could feel the panic and stuff that she
Yep.
went through.
Oh, wow.
So it
That's
was
something.
So you're also a physical
yes.
being as well. Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hard. It's really, really hard.
Very
Like, I just went to Massachusetts to film for Dark Echoes, and the 4 days prior to that, it felt like I was on a boat. I was like back and forth, super dizzy, very nauseous. And I really thought that I wasn't going to be able to go. And I didn't realize I didn't think anything of it, but as soon as I left my house, I felt better. Once I got there, right back to it, but it was in a specific hallway.
Wow.
So
Yes.
sick.
That is.
Mhm.
That is. That's something.
Yeah.
Did you ever have to
heart-
repeat a case or something? You have to do you think you don't solve. I know weekly you're probably not solving a case every week. They're probably you have to go back and back more, and the detectives call you in for something later on, or any of the cases ever run cold?
Well, the ones I have personally done, I've worked a lot of cold cases, some dating back to like 50 years. So yeah, I've worked a multitude of different types. My students, they're starting to work on some as I give them the cases, and that's what we're doing with Psychic Files. We come on every Friday, and we get the week to work on it, and then we
Yeah.
go live and we show everything we get. So
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Wish I had that talent. Like I said, I see things, I hear things, I feel things, but it's not like what you guys do.
And that's the thing, and Melinda reinforces, is that even with intuitive mediumship, you got to be okay with being wrong. You can't be right all the time.
Exactly.
Hopefully you're right more times than you are wrong, but if you're going to let your ego get in the way and not allow yourself to be wrong, you're not going to be successful as an intuitive medium, or definitely not in the psychic detective work.
Right. Because,
Unfortunately, a lot of people in this field they have the ego.
Right. Very much so. And that's what I try to instill in students. Right.
Yeah.
Because that ego, if it comes in, you're going to ruin yourself just right off the bat, because you got to realize you're not going to pick up everything, and some things you pick up will not be correct. But then there's that little bitty piece that you might get that's going to blow the case right open. And so that's what's important. Not that you get everything. And that's what I try to instill in the students.
That's good. That's good.
I don't know how you guys are, but when I get something, especially if it's like nailed, I'm still like, oh my God, that was so amazing. It's so awesome.
It is. I mean, that's the rewarding part, when you just get such a confirmation and connection, and you realize it makes your hair stand up. You feel that electric when you get that. Yeah, it absolutely. I can totally relate to that.
Yep.
It's like being a little kid at Christmas. It's so exciting. Like, I don't know, you're kind of almost like, did I do that? That was really cool. You know, and I was just explaining this to somebody. It's like, people say that, like, you have a talent or you have an ability, and I'm like, I'm just a conduit for whatever is giving me the information. Like, some days they shoot it through the tube, and some days they like put a hand over your mouth. It's hard to explain. Like, I don't know, are you the one that really has the talent or the ability or whatever it is, or is it truly like Reiki, where you're just the conduit for, you know, whatever the hell's out there?
I believe the same thing, Maureen. I'm just a conduit. And as Melinda mentioned, sometimes, some cases, some people you are not meant to work with for whatever reason. And it's not me. It's just whatever reason. I'm just a funnel to what information I'm getting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, and that's, you know, Native Americans coming in here, but I always say it's the creator. It's not me. The credit goes to the creator. And I'm just the vessel that is being used to help in this situation.
Yeah, source, whatever.
Right, whatever, yeah.
Hands or the flying spaghetti monster. Or
whatever it is, whatever you call. Yeah, exactly.
Denise says, like, when she drew the feather, right, Melinda?
Oh, yes. See, Denise, she's one of my students, and she kept saying it, and we all would laugh at her. But she's like, I'm not getting this. I'm not getting this. And then I also teach remote viewing. And so I told her, I said, don't give up. Just keep doing it. And I told them in class, I said, okay, this one's going to be something very simple. And so she contacted me probably before class, and she was like, okay, she goes, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I got. I know it's wrong. And she nailed it. So, yeah. So I told her, I said, you know, you can never, ever, don't put in your head, you can't do it, because
leave it open.
Yeah, exactly.
The open mind on everything. You never, once you think you're going to close, it's like, no. That's when you just lose it.
Exactly.
Open minded, step back, and just keep on working on a little bit at a time. Yeah, it's never, you have to just keep on, you know, connecting. Just keep on connecting with spirit, I say. And you have to just bring it in.
There's that hand over the tube. In this case, it's like, I'm so jealous. Anthony, don't you want to take this class?
Yeah. I'll meet you in Tennessee. I'll be there. We'll go out and go do something there.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Like drinking or something. I'm really, like, I love the sound of this class. It sounds so interesting.
I try to make it interesting. I do
a
lot of things that in some psychic detective classes you don't get. So I really expand and get them to really look at every angle. So
do you draw as you're getting something in? Would you draw pictures? Or I know some people scribble, some people just write down words. You know, everybody has their method. What do you draw?
I do draw the images. Like if I see like a perpetrator or the victim, whatever comes to me, I do draw it. I
Okay.
do the automatic writing too.
Okay.
So it's just a combination of everything. But we do reports, and so we do like law enforcement does because that's the way they prefer it. So I
Mhm.
teach about how to do all of that, and but yeah. So whatever you get, if you want to draw, you can. I don't force them to do anything, just the
Mhm.
outline of what the report would be. But if they want to include a drawing or whatever they get, I encourage that.
Does law enforcement truly take you seriously? Because I know that it's not really, mediums or psychics are not typically used in a court of law. Do they
No,
do they take you serious? I mean, do you just walk in and go, "Hey," and swing the doors open? This is what I saw last night in a vision.
no, don't ever. And that's what I teach in my class. It is very hard to get your foot in with law enforcement. Most of the time, they will not even deal with you. So that's one of the things that I teach in class is this is the way you approach it. This is the way. Don't ever do this. Don't ever do that. But this is the way you go to approach it. I also explain about family because a lot of time families will come to you. You have to be very careful there because you could end up giving them some information and then they react on that information
Mm-hmm.
and then you're held accountable. So I instill all of the different techniques and stuff that you do and stuff that you don't do, but most of the time, Maureen, no. And if they do use you, they will never admit to it.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I can
Which they
imagine.
can't because then they're going to sound crazy, just
Right,
like you
right,
Yeah, you
exactly.
might have officers that believe you, then you have other ones that like, get out of here. What's this? What's
Right,
this voodoo witchcraft stuff? You
exactly.
know?
But now I
Yeah.
have built up over the time that I've done this. I've got certain police departments and certain detectives that do trust me. So
Mhm.
I've proven myself to them. So, they will come to me. And that's with my students. I'm going to walk them into the police departments that I work for once I see which ones are going to get through this.
Mhm.
Like, I know for sure Nick he's like I said, he's very excellent at this. I'm very proud of him, as I am all of my students. But Nick is, he from the very beginning, he was like there, right there with it. So once we are done, I'm going to introduce him to different law enforcement agencies that will work with him.
That's awesome. Good for you, Nick. That's great.
Yeah, it's truly a blessing, and it's very kind and gracious of Melinda. Like I said, so for me, I take it serious. But bottom line is that we're helping people. We're helping uh, put closure. That's what it's all about.
Mhm.
Exactly.
And that's the thing, like ego's out the window with all of this stuff. It's not like, oh, who's the best
Right.
medium? Like,
Right.
and that's why I said it's, is it a conduit? Because it's not like, oh yeah, I got that. Yeah,
Right.
it's
Exactly.
it can be
Mhm.
fun. It's like, is it a parlor trick? Is it whatever? But it's really not. It is still amazing when there's information that you get correct because it is like, wow, that really is mind blowing that just came to you or to me or to whomever. And there are some people that are using it as a parlor trick, and it's not. It's,
Right.
there are times that it is used as closure for families or, for people, or it's great television sometimes, yeah, but sometimes it is still a cold case from the 1700s or for people from last week who don't know how their loved one passed away and they really just want to know, or maybe that is going to help them with you know a messed up gene for the future for families, that it really does help other people and they don't realize that. So it kind of, people have to be very careful with that.
Do they call you out of state too to do cases? Do they
Oh,
get from the other states or just your state?
no, I've worked in all of the states. I've worked in different countries.
Really?
I've worked for Canada, a lot of different countries, different cases.
there any case that you could? I know you can't say everything, but any cases that you could share that how you went through the steps to get to the conclusion and to to finalize the or close the cold case.
Um, okay, let me think here.
Okay, you don't have to give no location. You don't have to give
Yeah,
nobody's name.
okay, so yes, I was working a cold case, and they had run out of options, and so a police department that I had worked for give the other police department my name, so they reached out,
Mhm.
and they gave me a picture, they gave me the first name, and then so I sat there and I went through my process. I gave them everything I got with that, and then they call me back, and they were like, "Okay, we want to bring you here." I'm like, "Oh my God." So, because I don't like plane rides, I just don't care for planes. And but anyway, I went, and once I'm on the ground with it, then I can give you a lot more information. So basically, what had happened was there was a female that went missing. She had been missing a little over 2 years,
Oh my God.
and they had done exhausted every avenue. So what I was seeing, it was first thing I was picking up was her apartment, and I seen that she was forced out of the apartment. And I said, now there was something about a ring of hers that was found, and I said it was found underneath the table. And he was like, okay. He says, no, there's no way you would have known that. Keep going. So then I started looking at vehicles because I knew she had to be transported. And they were like, they asked me, because they will stop and ask you, especially if they have you on a crime scene. Did they get killed here? Are they dead? They start throwing all these questions at you. And I'm like, yes, I said, I do feel she is deceased. I said, she was knocked out here, but she was not killed here. So they're like, so there's a second crime scene. And I'm like, yes. And they're like, well, where is it? And then I always tell them in my class, especially Nick, I'm like, I tell the detectives, I say, give me just a minute. You're going to have to give me some space here.
Mhm.
So what ended up happening was I started telling them everything that I was picking up as far as where because I usually I'm really good about, as Lily said, I get vehicle descriptions, I get tag numbers, but then I usually get I'll see a street sign.
Mhm.
And so that's what led them to get to the area, is because I kept telling them, I said the word stalemate. And I said, I can't tell you if that's a road, if that's what it is. And so the detectives
Yellow
looked at
mate.
each other,
That's pretty cool. That's pretty interesting.
and they were like, we know of a road that is called stalemate. And they said, can you tell me more about the road? And I'm like, well, it's a dead end. I said, at the end of it, there's it used to be like a pig farm. And they're like, oh my God. They're like, yes, we know exactly where this is. And I'm like, the vehicle that they took her in, I said, it's going to be buried and she's inside the car. And they're like, no, that doesn't add up. I'm like, I'm telling you, that's where she is, and it's on this pig farm. And so they got down there, they started digging, and they found the car, and she was inside.
Wow.
So, and that's what I'm getting my students. They're going to be doing this just like I am.
That's
So,
it's interesting how everything just came to you and you know led them to solve this case after 2 years being cold.
yeah.
That's yeah.
So and that one still really sits with me because this girl was, she just started her life. And so sometimes that kind of thing will bother me too, because I take on the effects of what she did, how she felt. And that was one of the things as she was passing is I'm not going to get to have children.
Uh, did,
So,
did they arrest the person that
oh
um,
yeah.
they got the person?
Hmm.
It was the big farmer.
No, no. Mm-mm.
No.
No. That place had been closed down. That's why
Oh,
they took
oh,
it there. But
okay.
the person that actually done it, um, once we got to the site, they didn't let me go there until they found the vehicle. Then they let me go there, and then I went in. They brought the vehicle up, and I touched the vehicle, and I was like, okay, so this is what he looks like, and this is where I feel he lives. He lives in a 3-mile radius of here. And then I started telling them I seen parts of the tag of his vehicle, and they ran it and they found it that way, and that's how they found it.
The vehicle she was in was her vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yep.
shame.
It
Really.
was a very sad situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least they got the SOB that did it.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
But we got a long time for that. Yeah.
It can be very hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's
especially when the law enforcement brings you to the scene and you start working it and you start seeing, because when you're on the scene where the actual energy is,
mm-hmm.
that's when it really takes over. Sitting at home, working on a case from home is one thing, but when you go to the scene, that's when it really comes into play.
That's really wow.
Yes.
Wow. And when you were coming up with all this stuff, they just making their notes and everything.
Yep, they'll sit there and write, and then they'll ask you another question or 2 questions, and you're like, I haven't answered the one you just asked me, but that's the way I done, and I got a really good rapport with them, and so that's why like I said, the students that I know is going to be able to do this, they're going to be walking into that door to because that's my goal. I want other people out there doing what I do that takes it very seriously and know that it's very important. It's not a game. It's not something for your ego tripping. It's not for money. It's not for any of that stuff. It is to bring closure to the family.
Yeah. Have you had any students in the past actually work on anything yet, or this class is pretty much new?
Yes, my previous classes, like I said, I have 10 to 12, sometimes 15 students. My previous classes I've taught, out of those classes, there were usually 2 to 4 that really I see is going to be able to do this. And so that's the ones I'll take under my wing, and then I'll get them into the law enforcement side of it and bring them into that. And then, like I said, there's the ones that I feel need some more work, which I will offer to keep working with them. And then there's the ones that's not going to be able to do it. I just, and I'm very, how do I say it, Nick? My mouth will just say it. And I don't sugarcoat
Very
it.
forward.
Exactly. I'm very, and because like I said, this is something I take very seriously. And if you don't take it as serious as I do, then I don't want you doing it. Because
you have to. It's someone's life.
Yeah, and it's you're having to look at it the way I always look at it. If it's a daughter that's missing, what if that was my daughter? If it's a mother, what if it was my mother? That's the way I approach every case. And if you do that, then you will work at your highest level.
That's you got to put your all into it. You have to believe, and you have to be strong about it.
Yes.
Yeah, to get it done. Yeah.
Yep.
I hear all these different noises in the background. I keep on checking my phone. It's not.
I do too, and mine's off. So
yeah, I keep on going, but yeah, mine's off too. I'm like things going. It's like,
okay, Nick.
Yeah.
I double checked mine. My house phone did ring, so I muted for that.
It's okay.
That's really weird.
Yeah. So somebody else is coming in. You want to ask a question?
Goofy is asking, there is consensus on 5 human senses. If we call any additional the sense of perception, how would you decompose and describe those you use the most?
I use clairvoyance and clairaudient more than anything. That's what I use. But then again, I use some of the Native American stuff that I was taught by my mom, which is very sacred. So, but that's the 2 of the clairs that I use the most in this case. But I do teach about listen, make sure you listen, make sure if you taste anything, if, smell anything, So I'm trying to get the students to see you have to use all of those when you're doing this.
Nick, you have anything with that?
I mean, in general, that was an interesting question. Yeah, I was like, how do you unravel that question?
Yeah.
Goofy asks the best questions every time we have a
That's the question, like, why? I don't know.
Whatever label you put it under, everybody calls them the Claras. I call them gifts of the spirit. But really, what I honed in on, and it's just a personal choice because I try to circulate through the different abilities or gifts or whatever you want to call them. Clairvoyance lately has been my strong one. And Spirit has told me clairvoyant is right now my strong one. But I bounce back and forth, everything from smelling to cognizant, just knowing. And I know Anthony mentioned that he's an empath, so feeling it. Was that clairsentience or where you feel it?
Just knowing, like, feeling.
When I do anything, I always use my intuition. Everybody goes, "What's your best tool you have?" My intuition.
Yep.
But, let's go with what you feel, and and your limitations too. You don't want to push it too far, because I like I said, what you guys do, you guys push it too far. I mean, it could have some kind of, I guess, psychological problem, or hurt you that way too.
Right.
So your intuition is your best way of anything. 5 senses. All 5 senses is your intuition. It's all comes together when you go into something. Seeing, hearing, tasting, all that. It's all part of it. Smell. And when you being a psychic detective and everything, that all comes in. So you use them all pretty much on any of locations and stuff like that.
Anthony, that's too funny. When you start waving your hand, I see you, and intuition. I was like, he's talking about the New York street smarts.
Yeah, I wasn't trained in any of this. When I was doing this, I mean, I started in this early 70s, and I'm like, back then this wasn't popular, and I come from a Catholic school and Catholic background, Italian too, so you got the stubbornness there, like nobody wanted, hey, who you? Okay, we believe you, but don't talk about it. Hey, shut up, keep your mouth shut, So that was pretty much the whole thing, So as you go along, you start learning to do things on your own, So
right,
and you become street smart. Yeah, I guess. When people make fun of you because of it, you have to smack them upside the head once in a while.
It's amazing, like, immediately when you're not, you have the pit in your stomach, or you start to feel sick, or you just feel like the hair on the back of it. There's so many feelings that you can get, and everybody has a different one. You just have to kind of know what to look for. I started feeling, like I said, I felt dizzy and I felt nauseous and I had a headache and whatever. It's just depending on what your sign is. Everybody has their own sign. Or you hear your spirit guide screaming, "Don't do it! Don't do it! Don't do it! Go left! Whatever they're doing to you at the time. So everybody's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maureen, is that like when you hear that voice, that ominous voice that says, "Get out"?
Well, it's funny that you should ask that, because I always thought that the voice was my mom because she passed away. And I'd be like driving home and I would hear like, "Make chicken," but it's not. And then I thought it was my own voice, and it wasn't that either. So someone explained to me that, and this is good for everybody to pay attention to, because I never understood what the difference was between like your intuition, your spirit guides, yourself, whatever. So if you're thinking of what to make for dinner and you're like, should I make chicken? Should I make steak? If it's taking that long, it's yourself. Right. But if you're driving and you're like, don't go left, and it's that quick, that's not you.
Right.
You might be crazy, because most of us can be a little crazy. But if it's a really quick response, like, I was thinking of maybe not going out on that date tonight. Don't do it. That's your intuition. Something's there telling you, don't go on that date tonight because something may happen to you. Maybe, he's a serial killer, or maybe he's going to, make you chicken and he's going to give you food poisoning, like whatever it is. But it's something telling you not to do whatever you're doing. And I've had that happen a million times. I know you guys probably have too. But like going to work, if you're driving and you take the same route every single day, but you hear go right instead of going left, go right. It's always right. Intuition's always right.
Yep.
Every single time.
So that's a good question, Ruth. So,
I don't know what anybody else said here.
I could talk to you guys all night, and we always forget the questions. I talk too much. Yeah.
You can find this on ERRT Radio YouTube. You can find it on ALILWITCHY YouTube, BB3 TV, UG Media.
Speaking Club with Paranormal, New York City. I got it on my YouTube now.
Okay, good. So funny. My parents lived in Queens briefly, and then we moved to Westchester. Everybody's from New York.
Now, why are you going to Westchester? Everything's in Queens. The best foods are here.
Hi, Anne.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Hi, Yolanda. She said she finally found us. Sorry, we're in like lots of places. Dimensions of the supernatural.
This is actually being broadcast in England also.
Yes, we're in the UK as well. Yeah, on UG Media. Hi, Martin. So
try to do an English accent doesn't work too good for me. Yeah.
Why not? You don't understand the Cockney. So what's your favorite thing to teach?
Psychic Detective. That's my favorite. My heart lies with Psychic Detective. Yes.
You have such a passion for this. I love it.
Do you have any other classes, or just the,
I do have remote viewing because remote viewing goes hand in hand. But while I was teaching my current remote viewing class, I got this, I will call it a download, where now it's a different way of, we can use the remote viewing in a lot different way for the psychic detective work.
I love remote viewing. I think it's so much fun.
It is. It really is. It's hard when you first start out, but I tell myself, don't give up. It may not make sense. Sometimes it still doesn't make sense to me, but keep doing it. I'm going to be offering criminal profiling.
Ooh, I like
that's something I'm working on. And then I'm going to be working on doing a class for facial forensics.
Oh, wow.
So that's
Anthony, we're taking this class.
Yeah, when I see spirits, we do a thing called para art, and I've been doing it for 60 years since I was a kid. And they actually, and I never showed my stuff until recently. They had the Ritz Theater in South Jersey, and they had me and my friend Richard show our stuff. And first time I ever viewed, so I come like with 100 pictures, and I do them all over the place, and people are like, wow. So yeah. So now when I go location, I draw what I see, and I give it to them, and they usually hang it up or something like that. So.
Oh, that's pretty neat. I like that.
Yeah. And Richard, he actually, he's a psychic, and he talks to the people. As he's talking to people, he's drawing the person he's talking to's face. So he actually draws, picture as he reads the person, because he does psychic stuff.
Yeah, he draws the spirits around the people.
Sometimes he draws it before he even gets to the location, and he gets to the location because he gets all these bits and pieces. He starts drawing, gets to the location, and starts reading, and he goes, and he shows the picture. They're like, oh, and they usually have a picture similar to that picture. So it's really interesting how he does it. So yeah.
Ufi, again, she's on my my wavelength here tonight because I was going to actually ask you this. Can you elaborate on the way? I was actually going to ask it in a different way. I wanted to know how you did your remote viewing, if it was based on longitude and latitude, because I know a lot of people, especially in the military, they did it that way, or if it was just based on, talking to someone and finding, like, psychically looking to see where they were. She wants to know, can you elaborate on the way you employ remote viewing now versus previously?
So I was taught by the military way, by Paul Smith. And so, we'd done the ideograms, the gestalts, all of that stuff. And then as I was teaching the class, I was teaching it that way. Nick's in the class. And then one night in the middle of the night at 1:11, I sit up in my bed and I'm like, oh my God. So I started writing down all of this stuff. And so now what I do is I incorporate it the best way I can explain it. And maybe Nick might have a different version because he is the student. But I take some of the components of what I was taught, but I incorporate the clairs. I incorporate the different aspects of spirit. And then there's a certain way, how do I say this? Because I'm trying not to give it away because it's something special just for my class. So it will make my class unique than any other. But it's incorporating where we can pull in locations, things of that nature. Like it will be incorporated with psychic detective work. And it just came to me that night, and I've taught remote viewing for quite some time. And then this just happened during this class. And so I call it psychic remote viewing.
I like it.
I don't know if Nick, if you have a different aspect of.
I do the same. I mean, yes, I was taught with the CRB, controlled remote viewing, but I also have learned different variations, enhanced remote viewing, associative remote viewing, different types of it. But as Melinda mentioned, as an intuitive medium, I automatically receive the clairvoyance. So I'll jot it down, even though I'm just starting out and I'm just tuning in, sort of, they say, tuning your signal into whatever your target is for that. But I'll automatically jot it down because I'll get an automatic stream download of information.
If we had another question.
So, okay, let me see. Hi, Virgil. I hope you are on your best behavior. Kidding. Someone born with a ghostly attachment is normally a departed relative. And remote viewing, it sounds like you are suggesting a remote vision that is so intense and detailed that it cannot be ignored. Yes or no?
That's it. Exactly.
So that's like Ron, our station owner, ERRT radio, he was talking to me on the phone one day and he said, can you remote view? And I said, yes, but I do it differently. I don't take the longitude, latitude, blah, blah, blah. What I did was I just listened to his voice and I kind of closed my eyes and meditated. And all of a sudden, poof, I was in his living room. And he said, so tell me about it. And I said, you have a green rug, you have scalloped curtains, whatever. And he said, how did you know that? And I said, because I'm psychic, Ron. Like one of those things. But I think that there are a couple of different ways to do it. And I don't think it's correct one way or another how you do it. You can put it all together and use all of them.
Exactly.
Uri Geller has an impressive spirit medium line or line of clairvoyance. His palmistry can be Googled as well. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's no one right way of doing things. Right. You can do it, but especially if you haven't had training, like, I don't know, Melinda, Nick, did you have a mentor growing up, or?
I've had several mentors. I've been mentored under John Holland.
True.
Nancy Weber for Psychic Detective, Lisa Williams with Psychic Detective. So I've had quite a few mentors.
But as a kid, did you have some? But you were you were Native American, so you had some family members who probably helped along the way a little bit, right?
No, I'm what's called a lost birth. When at birth, I was taken from my family, and I was raised, and I just found my family in 2010.
Oh my gosh.
So no, I was not raised the traditional Native American way because I was taken and sold.
Jesus.
So you weren't brought up around your people
No,
to learn their ways.
nope. But when I found my family in 2010, before my mom passed, she taught me a lot. So
I am so sorry.
Or at least you got to find her before.
I had a twin brother too.
Did you?
Hmm.
Oh, Melinda.
He was taken, or he?
No, my mom got to take him home. I was jaundice, so they told her they had to keep me, told her to come back in a week to get me.
Mhm.
And then when she returned, they told her I had passed. And what they had done is they took me from Arizona, they passed me down into Florida, up into Kentucky, down into Tennessee, where I was adopted.
Oh wow!
So, and so, yeah, it was really weird how it all come about when I found them.
Oh my God.
Your
Traumatic.
adopted parents, did they have any abilities, or it was just the
Uh-uh.
well, your natural?
I was raised here in Tennessee, and they looked at me as being evil. They took me to churches and tried to, get the demon out of me. That was their wording. It was a very, very bad life growing up. When I got of age, I got married and moved to Arizona, was working for a newspaper, and that's how I found my family.
Did you know that you had a family besides?
No.
You just discovered that
So
then.
the whole thing was a big lie.
Right. And whenever I was in school, my teachers would say, Melinda, you don't look like them. You don't act like them. I'm like, well, that's all I know. And then when I moved to Arizona, I went out onto the reservation. I was working for a newspaper. And I went in to talk to this lady, and she's walking around the office, and I'm sitting there going, okay, I don't know what her deal is. And then all of a sudden she goes, you're my daughter. And I was like, okay, I thought she was weird. Now I know it, that kind of thing. And then we went and done blood work. It showed she was 99.9% my mom. And
Wow.
it was really,
Oh, so she was looking for you.
yes, she said she never believed that I had passed.
Because
Wow. So you kind of were kidnapped.
They sold me, and that's what they done for a long time. And in some parts, they still try to do it. Like when
They
I
did
was,
that to all Native Americans a lot.
yes,
So wait, who did the selling?
Wow.
the hospital.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And whenever I was living in Arizona back in 2010, 2011, there was a case of we went to see a family member that had just had a baby, and they were in there trying to get her to give them the baby because they're still trying to do the same thing.
Holy shit.
And I stepped in and I said, oh, hell no, you're not. And what Nick laughs at because he knows how I am. And but yeah, so and what was weird, before I had actually found them, I was working out on the reservation, and I had went to the rodeo, and I was there on the behalf of the newspaper. And this native guy kept coming up to me and saying, you want to go out? And I'm like, no, I'm married. Then a week later, this happened where I found my mom. We go to her house, and she's all elated and happy, and we walk in, and I'm like, who is that? She goes, that's your twin brother. He was the one that was asking me out.
Oh no.
It was hilarious.
Shit.
It was hilarious. I said, well, let me tell you what he did. It was hilarious.
That's like that's
He was drawn to you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to.
That's the twin. Yeah, the twin kind of probably the connection.
Yep.
And you didn't know you related back then,
but so drawn to you. I mean,
wow.
But like I said, I only got to know my mom for 6 months. She had a rare leukemia, and she passed. And so then we all had to be tested. And then my twin brother, he tested positive. And then I tested positive. And then he started getting real sick in 2015. And so he donated some bone marrow. And he told me, he says, I'm not going to make it. And I'm like, Ron, don't say that. Yes, you are. Well, he didn't. And the bone marrow they gave to me, that was his wishes, and it put me into remission. And I've been into remission ever since.
What an amazing story. So, like,
So he actually saved you.
yeah.
Exactly.
So everything kind of happened for a reason. I mean, it wasn't the best thing that it started out that way, but
Right.
what a whirlwind to end the way it did.
Did any
Very
other
much so.
other family members take you in, or did you see anybody related to?
Oh, well, now that I'm here in Tennessee, it's a little bit more difficult, but I have a medicine man and he keeps in contact because he was teaching me the medicine way. So, and then I have some friends back there. Of course, we keep in contact. I had a huge devastational blow. There was one that I was very connected to, and I just moved here, wasn't here long in Tennessee, and he was involved in a car accident and he passed away, which devastated me. And Denise, she knows John. But yeah, I have my, the ones that my dad's still alive. But other than that, I have a few connected ones that we still stay in contact. So
So you think this is what, did you become more, I guess, have more abilities after all this, or did you have the same, or your abilities grew somewhat after that?
the
You know?
things that my mom taught me and the different ceremonies and the different things, how she goes into a meditative state and all of this, which I will teach to my students that I'm going to say, okay, this is for you. And if they want to learn those ways, I will teach it because it's a very sacred thing.
Mm-hmm.
But once, she did show me all of this stuff, it did enhance them. But I had two NDEs. So I did pass twice.
Wow.
So once when I was 7 and once when I was 17.
Wow.
Oh, wow. So
What
that
an
also
amazing
enhanced the passing and coming back. Helped your abilities too.
Oh,
And
yes. Hmm.
those two.
Very much so.
Wow. That's something. That's some story. And
Sometimes it's hard. I miss my mom and I miss my twin brother.
but there was a reason, like Maureen said, there was a reason, and today you're alive because of that,
Right.
because your mom found you and then introduced you to a brother, then your brother actually donated his marrow to save you, and if you never found that, you might not be here today.
Exactly.
Melinda, do you think that based on what happened to you, that this is what drives you to do your classes?
I think it's got a big part in it. I really do, because even though I was not like murdered or I was not taken, I'm not a missing person, but in a sense, I was a missing person
You
to my
are.
mom.
Yeah.
They declared you. They told her that you passed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of, it's you weren't, you didn't pass, but
It's along the
right
same
here,
lines, just in a
it's
different
on
way.
the same thing. So you're looking for people that are missing because you kind of were missing all those years to your real mom.
Exactly.
So maybe that's what put you on that path to
I
find
truly think
others.
so.
That's
Yep.
something. It really is. Sorry.
And they say that our past lives are kind of similar to our current lives. It's just that we're trying to connect it
Right.
in a different way. And we're learning a lesson. Wow.
Somebody came to me and talked about past life. They said I was an Indian warrior. I was killed on the first hunt. I'm like, okay. And I was always into the Native American stuff. I got it on my
Oh,
arm.
wow. Yeah.
I got the Indian chief and the what do you call it? The peace pipe.
Oh, okay. Yes.
With the horns, with the long hair, long horn, the skull of the long horn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was always into that, and I still the wolf, the spirit of the wolf. I love the spirit of the wolf, and I'm a like a pack animal. I feel like, you know, the way they live and everything. You know, family. I'm very big with family, so
Right.
wolf
Exactly.
work together. They're family and they work together. So that's what, you know. So I was always into that, you know, those trends. Yeah.
Right. I know whenever, I started getting to know my mom, I'm like, so what is my native name? I was very adamant. I want to know what my native, and so she named me Spirit Hawk,
Spirit Hawk. Oh, that's a nice name. That's cool.
and my twin brother was Spirit Eagle.
Spell it evil.
Eagle.
Eagle.
Oh, eagle. I'm gonna say evil. I'm like, wait a minute. Eagle. Spirit
Eagle.
eagle. That's. How do you know how to say it in the language or no?
See, I'm very honest.
You know
No.
the English version of it. Oh,
I mean,
that's
I know some words, and I know, different. Because see, my mom was half Apache, half Lakota, and my dad was Navajo.
wow.
And so here I am speaking Tennessee-ish is what I call it. And so they were trying to teach me, and they would get the biggest kick out of me. I'm like, how am I supposed to say that? I'm like,
Mhm.
I talk Tennessee. You guys talk something else. I don't get it.
It's
And
hard to do with the accent twisted in there.
right, right. But they were teaching it to me. My medicine man still does. We'll have a session, and and he's like, "Oh, you're such a pain," because I'm like, "Say that again," and I mean, it's totally different. So
We
You're
actually
lucky I'm not trying to say it.
we, we actually had
I destroy the English language.
we had a Lakota shaman on here, and he was really fascinating.
mhm.
Doug Goodfeather.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had him on the show.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you probably know who he
Yep,
is.
I do. Yeah.
He's very well known. Really, really amazing man.
Good,
Mhm.
good guy.
Arvo Looking Horse. Oh my gosh, he is amazing.
Yeah. So that's a mind blowing story. I mean,
You know, he said everything
You
was
never know what road somebody is traveling.
that's very true. I was just going to say that actually. Until you either ask them, you traveled in their own shoes. People tend to judge others before they even know a little smidge about the person.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And I said that earlier. We anyone that has abilities, they seem to have had a very traumatic upbringing or something that has transpired or whatever. And I think people should be treading a little bit more carefully around
Exactly.
anyone near them before they say anything. It's not a
Yep.
really easy life, especially going through this.
Exactly.
Thank you for telling your story.
You're very welcome. Sometimes it's hard for me too, but I'm like, for you to understand the whole picture, you have to know the story.
That's right. You know, and sometimes it's better you talk about it and you understand it better, and just to get it off your chest and
Right.
share it. You know, and that's some story that is. You know, so look, we left Nick over there in the witness program. He's somewhere in Long Island. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't have a last name. He's just like, shh, I'm here. Yeah. He's hanging out over there just watching us.
So Nick, what's it like being in Ms. Melinda's class? Is it like you're in total awe as she's speaking to you, or
Yes.
are you just so busy like writing notes to keep
I mean, I don't, my background, like I said, I couldn't even compare to the background, but I'm not here to compare. Everybody has their own walk. For me, I was born with this ability as a child. I guess like that movie Sixth Sense. I literally saw dead people.
I see dead people.
Yeah.
When I used to work, we say, I see stupid people.
We all do, I think.
So, but yeah, it's a life. As long as you have the stomach and discipline, it could be a life-changing experience working with Melinda.
Well, thank
I
you.
can see that. Did the two of you always know that you had abilities, or did one of you or both of you have kind of like a crash landing where there was a traumatic experience that sparked it to have like an awakening, or how did that work?
Well, for me, I was the one big thing it was when I was more of a teenager, and there was a school bus that went missing, and I kept seeing these visions of where the school bus was, and that was all over the news. And so I went to my teacher and I told her. So then she contacted law enforcement, and so they came to the school to talk to me, and then they took me in their vehicle and we went down the road that I would tell them exactly where to turn and all of this. And the bus had went down a huge ravine,
Oh wow.
and so that was, but everyone was deceased, the children and everything. And so I'm like, it's a sad situation, but they will still live here. And nobody understood what I meant. And at the time I really didn't know either. But then in a certain part here in Tennessee, on this mountain where this happened, certain times when it gets close to the time of the year that this happened, if you're on that road at that time, your car will die. And then you'll see these little handprints all over the back of the vehicles
I
where
heard
they're trying to push the vehicle out of the way.
they put powder on the back of the vehicles and they find little handprints and stuff
Yep.
like that. Yes. Yes.
That's
Wow.
that's happening in a couple of places
It's
across.
like by a train track, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Maureen.
No, that's okay.
always
It's
cut her off.
just happening in a few places. Hi, Jeff.
Mhm.
There's a place in Florida like that, and apparently you're supposed to put your car neutral to see if it will actually roll. But that's happened in a couple places. That's really interesting.
Yeah,
What
that's definitely interesting. Huh?
What about you, Nick? How did you learn about your abilities? You said that you've had them since you were a young kid. Did you
Yeah.
know that you had abilities, or was it kind of like you thought that everyone had abilities like I did?
I thought everybody had it because I can remember as a child, maybe 3 or younger, literally seeing dead people and then talking to them as if they were my playmate. And I still recall that because they just threw out my. But then I had to somewhat shun it because I was brought up in a very religious environment. And really later, as I grew up, I just couldn't ignore the calling. I had to. It was worse to ignore it and just try to shuffle it away. I just had to allow it to happen. But from childhood. And I did have, like I said, I'm prior military. I had a near-death experience, so that solidified it throughout. Like I said, we have, as you mentioned, we have these events in life, these challenges that just confirm our gifts and/or something more than this physical body. So that NDE, I didn't go up there and speak to Christ or anything like that. It was very quick, and I knew that it wasn't my time, and I was told it's not my time. I had more work to do, but that just reinforced that there's more to this life.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that just made me think of when I was in school and I was in the second grade. There was the teacher come in one morning and said that one of our students was in a car accident over the weekend and she had got killed. And I'm sitting in there and I'm looking and I'm like, I raised my hand and I'm like, no, she's at her desk. And the teacher was like, Linda, no, she was in I said, she is sitting at her desk. They sent me to the principal's office, but but she was there. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I knew other people didn't see because they were like the way they treated me because I would say stuff. I'm like, did you have a brother to die? And they're like looking at me and they're like, I'm like, well, he's here. And they were like, they thought I was weird.
Yeah.
So
No, well, I went through life like that, so I
Yeah.
still think I'm weird, but I understand that. Every time you bring something up, I lost friends because when I was a teenager, I started bringing it up in the 70s, giving away my age a little bit there. And people, especially religious people, they thought I was looking for the devil and all that stuff. The people I was with, and some kids, oh, you're crazy. And back in the 70s, what drugs are you on? That was a big thing.
Right.
And I felt that if I lost a friend because of that, they're not really friends anyway.
Exactly.
So I let it go. I lost a lot of friends because of my ability. I seeing things and stuff. Hanging out in cemeteries didn't help. Yeah. So yeah, I understand when people. If I would have said that in school in the 70s, oh, I see somebody by the desk that just died. The nuns would come over with a big one of those big yardsticks and like boom, right across your knuckles or across your head or wherever they want to slap you with it. Yeah. So I understand about that. Right to the principal. I'm not being destructive. I'm seeing something.
Right.
But I know people that actually did see stuff against kids, and they went back to their parents, and their parents right away take them to the doctor and all those, from shocks, whatever they didn't give those kids because they really think the kid has a problem, which he doesn't. He just has the ability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes abilities could be a gift or a curse.
Right.
Depending where you are in the world and how the people you're surrounded with believe, so.
Yeah. And like Anne said, people could be afraid of you. You could be ridiculed. People, could bully you. It just depends on how people feel. Now it's all the rage. Everybody wants abilities.
Right.
But I don't think that they realize that it's not necessarily a blessing all the time. It can be a curse. Like, look at when I said, how sick I was. It just depends on what your abilities do for you. It's not always the best thing when you see someone, laying dead in front of you and you can feel everything that happened to them. It's not the best thing. Hi, Matt. You guys, what you do and what you're learning, Nick, it's not something like, I would hate to be the doctor that went out to a patient's family to tell them that they didn't make it through a surgery, let alone what you guys do. You don't want anyone to, you don't want to be the person to tell them what happened to their loved one.
Yeah, and that's the hardest part.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Nick.
Is like working with Melinda, and she's teaching us is, with the alive or dead. I almost wish that I could be wrong and that person could be alive or that child could be alive. I don't like saying that, yes, unfortunately, this individual, I get all indications that they're deceased. That's not something you want to say. I almost pray that I'm wrong. So
yeah, I can imagine. Melinda asked about my parents. I'm sorry. My mother believed me. My father just told me to shut up and about my abilities and stuff like that. My mother believed me. The women in my family all see things, but then nobody really talked about it outside the family or whatever. And they just told me not to say nothing about it. Like when I turned a teenager, that's when, as you can see, I'm not too quiet of a person. That's when I started talking about it. But my parents, my father, the men in my family were all against it, and women in the family said, okay, we believe you, but keep it quiet. Shh.
Right.
So yeah.
I think women are more open to it for some reason.
I when we go for EVPs in the field, I find that a lot of spirits, I'm not saying in every case, but I find the spirits speak to women more than men on a lot of cases. Unless you're in a location with just were men and women weren't supposed to be, and then they'll shut down to the women and speak to the men. But a lot of times I come across women get a lot more evidence with EVPs. Now I'm going to have a lot of hate mail sent to me tonight.
I think it's more because it's a lot of it is very emotional. There's a lot of emotion behind it.
Right.
Mhm.
Because if they're not there physically, it is more emotion.
Yeah, or maybe it's like a motherly type or something to these people. You know, some people are afraid of their father, and the motherly, nursing and all that. Maybe that's it too. But like I said, I'm gonna get hate mail tonight. What do you mean? I get the best evidence. So,
Someone Lady V said, I think men rather not speak about it, not necessarily less active.
yeah. My men, the men in my family, they talk about it. But I had a feeling that they seen as much as I did. They had abilities also, but these thick Italian men. Hey, no, don't talk about it. Shut up. We don't want to hear about it. We don't want to see it. Just be quiet. And the women like, shh, okay, we believe you, but shh, don't say nothing to nobody outside the family. Outside the family, Oh, don't say it outside the family. Yeah, keep it in the family only. But that was back then. And then 2004 came, and the TV shows started popping up, and boom, everything opened up. That's where everything opened up. It was like 2004, 2005 when the TV shows started becoming popular. Everybody with a K2 would say, "Hey, I'm an investigator." So that was pretty much, But if if anybody wants to get one of your classes, how do they go about getting in contact with you and stuff? Just plug yourself.
I'm on YouTube. I'm Psychic Files, but Facebook. I'm just under my name, Melinda Williams, and I do give out my phone number because I have. That's the way I get students. So so I can give that out here if you would like to have that information. But so my phone number is 480-364-3977.
Okay.
That's the best way to get a hold of me because I'm so busy.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, just to get in touch with you to take a class, that'd be awesome. I know Nick is quiet over there. He's not, can't contact him. Like witness program. I'm telling you, I really think he is. He won't tell you where he is. No last name. Hey, I don't know nothing. I don't nothing. I see nothing. I hear nothing.
It's like he was put in the corner.
Yeah.
Hey, Anthony, I'm like the anti-New Yorker.
Hey.
Oh my gosh.
Not Anthony.
I'm not that. Everywhere I go, they say something to me. It's like, I like your accent. I said, I don't have an accent. I'm from New York. You got the accent.
I'm going to put this all in the chat. So it's YouTube Psychic Files.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, it's under Melinda. Oops, I don't know what I just did.
YouTube Psychic Files.
I just lost everybody.
Everybody's still there.
Yeah, we're still here.
We're still here. And there's only still one of me.
No, I lost the chat.
You didn't double me yet.
Every once in a while I start typing and I forget where I was at.
Denise, if you're still on, you can put in the YouTube stuff. She's really good about doing that. She's one of my students, but she's also my moderator because on Saturday nights I do card readings and stuff online. So she can put that in there.
You can put that on too. Any which way they could contact you, make you more popular. It's like that's what you want to do. You get yourself out there. Whatever you want to put on.
We like to give you a plug so that you can grow.
Right, and I appreciate it.
Very interesting, and this is good work. This is excellent work that you're doing, giving people closure. It's something that you and Nick are doing this, and all the other students that are still learning how to do it, and then you past students that are doing it. It's awesome how you taught a group that going out there and helping others. So that's what I mean.
That's what I'm after. I want but to me you got to be very dedicated. Very dedicated. 'Cause to
You're
me,
in deep
this
trouble
sounds
now.
amazing.
Lady V said, "Awesome! I'm a prank call at least once a week."
I do get those, so there you go. Oh, Denise put the YouTube channel in for us.
Yes.
Yeah, she did that. Good.
Thank you, Denise. We love
Hey,
it.
I used to get my card out with my numbers. I still do now. But I used to get guys that used to call me up. I got Bigfoot in my front yard. I'm like, I look for ghosts. I don't know what to do with Bigfoot, you know? I said, throw him banana. Maybe he'll go away. I don't know. You know, Bigfoot, all they say. One guy called me up. He has black helicopters over his house because the night before he seen a UFO go by. He has all these black helicopters surrounding his house, shining lights in his window. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with that.
Right.
Yeah, he called me up. He had me on the phone almost an hour and a half. I'm like, but I don't know. He gets going on. You look, they're looking in my window now. Then I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. You know?
Right.
So you get all those out there. You know.
So, is there anything else that you guys want to mention while you're here?
Well, I mean, basically, just don't ever give up, because everyone is gifted. And so my thing is to tell you, never give up, keep doing you, no matter what is said about you, no matter what is going on in your life, be you. Because to me, that is the most important thing. And then, like, if you're going to do this psychic detective work, please come to me, because I hold this very dear, and I will make you the best psychic detective that I can.
That's
Nick,
awesome.
anything?
Nick, how can we get in touch with you? You know,
I would say go to Melinda. Like I said, if anyone talks about my different modalities and stuff like that, I do post on YouTube and stuff like that. But we're here for Melinda and the psychic files, so I won't.
Sure, nothing with the FBI or something like that. You know,
I do work for a 3-letter agency, but I won't elaborate on that. But
I work with 4-letter agencies once in a while.
But it was a pleasure, and I appreciate Maureen and Anthony having myself on here. It was awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming on. I mean, it was a great show. It really was. So, Nick, if you ever want some help, give me a call.
Well, now you're from, we definitely got to connect up here from New York. So
absolutely, you guys, this was awesome.
I have a car. I travel. We just came from, this weekend. I just did an investigation at Conjuring House. Lourdes, Ryan, a bunch of different people, and it was interesting. John Zaffis showed up and everything, so it was a pretty good weekend, And then guess what? Who's coming with me this weekend? We're going on investigation at the Shanley Hotel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she's coming with us. A bunch of us are going, and before that, we're going to see Ron from ERRT Radio. We're going to a UFO conference in
Pine Bush,
New York. So,
but not just that, Ron. We're going to see Ron Yacovetti.
He's going to talk at the UFO thing. Because he does boxes too, Nick. And some of the stuff he gets, I don't know if you know him, but some of the stuff he gets there, it's spirits, or it's questionable. It might be something beyond, like aliens and stuff like that. So it could be almost anything.
Yeah, I do. Like I said, not only part of ITC, but I do also a speech analysis, which language is bidirectional, and spirits embed, your subconscious embeds messages. So I sort of a linguistic specialist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Multi guy.
Yeah.
You would love this device. This is unbelievable, mind blowing. Ron and Lourdes are like
Tony and Sherry.
Mind blowing. I mean, and Sherry and Tony, this stuff is I keep saying it's like a telephone to heaven. Like it allows you to speak in full blown sentence. Like you could have a whole conversation.
Yeah, it's a thing they call Staticom. And only 4 people in the world right now that we know of doing it is Ron Yacovetti, Lourdes Gonzalez, Tony, and Sherry Rathman. So,
wow.
And Tony's a box. He builds boxes also. Besides, but then they don't use a box. I'm telling. Every time I say to Ron about they use a box, Ron goes, "No, there's not a box." So it's not a box.
It's not a box.
But Tony did build his own equipment and stuff like that. His own, boxes like that.
You
Do you
don't
ever use
know
anything like that?
You don't hear any of that.
Do you use that? You want to use it? Well, you do investigating. Well, do you ever use anything like a box or any kind of spirit box, anything like that, or you just go with what's coming out?
Who, me?
No, I'm asking Linda.
Oh,
Well, I have. How do I say this? I'm waiting for Nick to give me mine. He knew I was.
I was going to break that. I was like, I'm working with Melinda to launch her into that modality.
Yes.
So I'm very excited. So it's I'm working on her unique stuff so that she could bring it around and use it as necessary.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. I know the spirit psychics usually say that's how things come to us in some of the way these boxes are running now between spirit boxes and whatnot. So is that how it comes to you?
To me, I see like images. Sometimes, most of the time, they're black and white.
Mm-hmm.
But see, I want to do this with the spirit box because Nick got me onto it. And so I want to try it. I want to see what it's like. But yeah, I get images. I hear different things. I want to add this as another tool, and because Nick really got me into going on this, I'm like, oh my God, I got to try it. So I'm very excited.
That's good.
Now let you know. And see, he not only is he making me one, but then he's going to have to teach me how to do it because I have no clue. So, but I want to say,
yeah,
I know Maureen. I've known her for quite some time. It's the first time I'm meeting Anthony, and I love you both. And Nick knows I love him. So
yeah, we do with you too. We love you too. You guys are great guests.
No.
We don't want to hang up on you. You guys stay on for another 2 hours. Sound
good? I think I might be taking your class, Melinda. I'm feeling the urge here.
That would be great. That would be great.
Lourdes said it's a method, not a box.
I know. I didn't say it's a box, Lourdes. It's a method.
Exactly.
A method, not a box.
It's not a box. I said Ron gets mad when I say it's a box, but Tony does build boxes, but it's not what you guys are doing. It's something different. Remember, he built it before you got what you got. Oh well. I'm going to see them this weekend too. So, and Maureen's going to actually see the Spirit Con stuff. So
yeah, I can't wait. I don't know if it's pronounced Ostanes or Ostanis. I don't know. This is a new person in our group, and I don't think it's a new person. I think it's another alternate ego. But it's sign me and V up for the psychic investigator class. Send the enrollment fee bill to Oofy. I heard my cousin on the box and it scared me to death. I don't think that you should be afraid of that. I really, truly believe that it's just like another divination method, just like, pendulums or tarot cards or dowsing rods. And even I know people are terrified of, they're called Ouija boards, but it's a divination board or spirit board or whatever. It's all about perception and intention.
Exactly. Yep.
It's how you use it. It's what you put into it. Whatever. It is what it is, and it's all what you make it.
If you go in with good intentions and positive energy, you'll get more out of something than if you go in with negative energy stuff. So if you go on an investigation, you just had a fight with somebody, you just calm down and go away and come back later until you get to that better area. Because if you don't, you're not going to get nothing.
Exactly. And
that's how we do
I've got a special Ouija board that was made for me. And I use it in my psychic detective work because sometimes, especially with a child, One side of it is a chalkboard.
Oh.
Okay.
And so sometimes when a child, something bad has happened and they cannot talk, so they write it and they do it with the chalk. So it's exactly whatever you put
Just
the intention in it.
That's really cool. When
you,
just like you said, when you get your information, you like kind of see it.
Right.
Mine, I get my information in different ways. I'll either see a picture of it, or I'll see him play out like a movie, or I'll hear information, or I just know it. My son gets his information just like that. He sees someone writing on the chalkboard, or it comes on like a picture on the chalkboard. So that's kind of cool that you said that.
That's interesting. Do you use any other trigger objects? Any kind of like to bring a child in? Like we use stuffed animals. I use
Boo Bear.
marbles, little. Now the big thing is the cat balls with that light up and stuff like that. Do you use anything else that
I
bring a child in?
I use a rattle.
Okay.
That's a great idea.
That is a good idea.
Yeah.
You put it on something so if it shakes, you can hear the rattle.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I never thought of a rattle. I always think about bells and stuff like that. You know, the rattle's that's a good idea.
It works very well.
Wow. I'm gonna give that a shot. See, you just taught me something.
Yay.
Now I'm gonna go buy myself a rattle. I'll be walking around like this. With the rattle.
Thank you, Denise. Denise said it's a great show and she's thoroughly enjoying it. We like to have fun on our show, but we also like to make it educational. I've always wanted to have a show that was it didn't scare people, but it brought the dark and the light.
Right.
Because you need the dark to have the light. Yeah. So I wanted something that showed, even, Satanism and voodoo and hoodoo and, a little bit of everything, because it's out there. It's not going away. It's, and have everybody feel comfortable enough to ask questions no matter what it was. So I hope everybody does enjoy our show, and, and you do feel comfortable enough to ask questions and have a good time. And we do try to keep it spunky and make it funny and fun. And, you look forward to every single week. So thank you for being here, guys. And
I get to sit and rock all night long.
Yeah, you could sit and soothe yourself.
That's what I do. The whole show, everybody makes comments. I rock. That's what I do.
And I rock Z. So we're almost closing up for the night. Thank you for being here again, and we had so much fun with you. It was a blast, and it was such an educational experience. And and look who stepped in, Ron Yacovetti himself.
Everybody, if you like the show, press like us.
Yes,
like.
Share with your friends. Please stop in each week and let us know if you're having a good time. And we love to see you guys here each week. And let us know if you want to see a particular guest or a certain topic, or stop into the comment section. And you guys rock. Try not to possess yourselves too hard. Thanks, V. But thank you again for stopping in.
I do rock.
We love you guys so much. And Melinda, you'll definitely see me.
Of course I will. And guys, remember, Friday nights is our Psychic Files.
8 o'clock.
At 7 p.m. Eastern.
7 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss out.
Friday nights on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, yes.
On YouTube.
Okay, and it's under any, it's just Psychic Files, and that's
Psychic Files. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they punch your Psychic Files, you pop up. I am here.
It better.
Yeah, because there's a notification.
And we get to see Nick again, huh?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And Nick will be there. Hey, Nicky.
There.
Hey.
Nikki,
Anthony, we'll be talking.
And make sure that you're
great.
still you're the last winner on the island there. All right, guys. Well, this is another Dimensions of the Supernatural with Nick, Melinda Williams, Maureen Grudzinski, Anthony Simonelli, otherwise known as.
Hey, forget about it. Be safe.
We will see you next time on Thursday nights from 7:30 to 9.